Okay, so I was putting this new condenser together. I had to build some brackets for it because I wanted to bolt it to this. I wanted to bolt it to here, so I had a hole here and another hole on the other side. And it was hanging in between the intercooler and the radiator. I noticed there's a lot of room. It's like, why can't I fit the factory one in there? And I did. I fit it in there. I just slid it down and it's flush up against the radiator right now. You can see where it's just resting on the lip, the bottom lip here of the radiator, the bracket part, or where the bottom part is. And then the intercooler is set in its grooves, and then it'll hook up to the boot. Set in that groove right there. And it's kind of hard to see, but there's a little gap there before it hits there. It's resting on the bottom, so once this hose is on and tight, it will have a gap in there. It's a pretty good gap. So it sucks that I mutilated the one I bought for $60, I think, when I can still use the factory one, and I evacuated all the Freon out. That's okay. I think this will work. Now, is it better to have this thing up, build a bracket to raise it up? Because I don't know, there's not much airflow right there. But if I build a bracket to raise it all the way up, I'm looking at, some of this might block it. I'll just have to see. But it fits. So all we really had to do was relocate the trans cooler, which, if somebody found one that was that tall, that might work. That might still be an option. Let me find a tape. All right, let's measure this real quick. If you had to have one, if you wanted to put a trans cooler here, you're looking at, the bottom. Yeah, you got to think about this though too. I don't think they would make one small enough, but this is where the hood latch is. This comes right below the radiator, so it would have to fit in there just right if you wanted to. So if you set it on top of this, you're looking at 4.5 inches, 4 inches, and I think it's 29 across, 30 across. So if you wanted to, could you put a trans cooler there? Maybe. 4 inch by 29, just to set it in there. May work. I've already relocated mine, so I'm going to stick with it for now. But at least the AC factory condenser is working. I've already ran one hose. I'm waiting on another hose to come in. I didn't order enough, but I got it running down the frame rail. You can see over there, and it comes out right here. You see it runs along the frame rail, and it comes out and loops in, and that's where it goes in. I haven't tied it all in yet. And the other one, that's the way the other one comes up. And what I'll do is I'll just take it and I'll run it down through there, and then it'll join up with the other one and run to the back. But yeah, the AC condenser looks like it's gonna work. But maybe there's a trans cooler that's a 4x29 that you can run the hose up from here on this side, run it straight up from here on this side, and all this will work. I don't know. I'll look into it and see. But the way that this is designed, it just may not be enough. We'll see. I've managed to get everything kind of bolted up, not 100%, but I've got the fenders mounted to the radiator support with just one, just to secure it, and then I sucked the fenders in, lined all that stuff up, and I threw everything in, and I think it's all going to work. I'm not worried about the bumper right now. The bumper, I'll have to build a bracket, and I can either go aftermarket or use the factory bumper. But yeah, everything is just kind of set in there just to make sure I don't have to trim anything else. And it looks like I'm done trimming now. At the beginning of the video, I was able to fit in that factory condenser And so that's where the outlet of it will go, and then put the hose, you know, the hose will go back here, and then the high side will go down there. But I was able to keep the battery. That's where the battery tray goes. But yeah, I think it's all gonna work. I had to trim a little bit off of this radiator support on the old one because it wouldn't let me come in anymore, so I had to trim about 1/2 inch off just to get it, because it was kind of tilting up. I needed to push it in more. But yeah, it's all gonna work. And I know we're talking about a trans cooler mounting it, and I found one. I found a 4-inch by, I can't remember how wide, for a Duramax, and it would have fit up there, and this will get sucked in. These are all, you can see these are all busted up. It's all gonna get replaced. See, that mount's busted up. The only mount that's good is that one. But you can see that's the top of the intercooler, and then back there's the AC condenser, but you've got the hood latch, so a trans cooler wouldn't fit. So we're sticking with what we got in the back. And then of course this trim is supposed to go up here, but it's all busted up too, so we'll put all new stuff here, but that'll get sucked in, and yeah, it'll work. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to tear it all apart now. It's all fitted. I'll tear it apart and put paint on bare metal that I cut, because that frame, this old radiator support, you know, I butchered that, and all I really needed it to do was hold the intercooler and then keep the power steering pump reservoir mount and the battery mounts on each side. That's all I really needed it to do. And I built brackets for the AC condenser to hold it up to where air can flow over the top, because if I pushed it all the way to the top, the surface area was more than if I let it hang down below. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to I'll take everything off and kind of outline what I cut, so that you'll know what you need to cut if this is the way you want to go. Want to keep the AC. If you don't want to keep the AC, then you can get a trans cooler that'll fit between those two, and which I think you might be able to fit this factory one between the, no, that's a little too wide. You'd have to go about, this is about 1.5 inches, I think. You'd have to go 3/4 of an inch is what the AC condenser is, so you'd have to do a 3/4 inch trans cooler. But if you don't want AC and you're not worried about it, you can run one in between those two and it would work. But so right now, yeah, I've just got this stuff, it's just kind of, you know, hanging on here. I'll take this off, and I'll take it all off, and we'll go over what all I cut. And then it's I'll have to order parts because all this stuff's so busted up. But I broke my tripod for my camera, so let me tear some of this apart and we'll get to where I cut everything. All right, so far I've just taken off the grill, both headlight buckets, and then this lower trim piece. This is the one we couldn't fit at first. This is what started all the bullshit. But I'm glad I figured it out, because I can have AC in that truck now. Anyway, so what we've got on this is all one piece, and these I had off, but I had to cut this even more because I had, all this was still here, but I had to cut this level to where I could stick this in, because the bottom trim fits here, the grill fits here, the headlight buckets here, and then up here also, and then of course the headlight buckets fit over there. But this was the inner support for all the headlight bucket and grill stuff, so I had to get both of these to fit. So I had to butcher those up even more. But like I said, all it is we're holding this up, and we got the battery. Now it has a little bit of a wobble to it, and the power steering cooler goes down here, but that's going to fit no matter what, because there's really nothing blocking that. I've already fit that. So this will all come off in one piece. So I'm going to take these off, I'll remove it, and I'll put that down, and we'll go over what I cut on that. All right, I've got the radiator support off, and we'll go over this first, but y'all remember in one of the other videos, I just cut the bottom off, right? So I started on the bottom, and in order to get around that old radiator support, before I butchered that, I cut, you know, there's supposed to be a box, a rectangle here for the air box. And so I cut this all out on both sides, and I cut up a little bit more to get around the brackets for the intercooler and AC. The AC lines were right here. So both sides I ran up underneath these pieces and just ran up so far on each side. And you can see it's probably right where that box came out, and then up a little bit. But that's the old radiator support. And then I cut a little bit off the front lip. Probably about a quarter. Well, let's see, I got the old piece right here. Probably about 1/2 inch off to 3/4, just so it will fit snug up against the radiator, or actually it'll back off of it, give a little bit of a gap. But so that's the old radiator support. I still left all these pieces in. These go where those two brackets are, or where that bracket is. So those two go there to suck it up against it. And of course the grill and headlight buckets, all this stuff is still here in your hood latch. So everything is still there. I just try to fit it around the Super Duty stuff. And that's where the butchery comes in, is all the Super Duty stuff. So as far as the old radiator support, you've got, it holds battery mounts or trays. That's where the one battery goes. It holds the intercooler right here, and another battery tray, and the power steering. So on the back of this, on the other underside, there was some, you can see right there, I cut that gap right out here. And that's to fit around this hose so that it can come down and mount the cooler. I've just got it up there for now. But this was also cut to fit this trim piece that went across. And that was the issue at first. So that trim piece comes into here. So as far as where exactly to cut, you're just gonna have to fit your valance, that front piece, and see. But as you can tell, that if you look at these holes on your passenger side, it's right almost in the middle of this hole, straight across, and it goes straight across. And then I just butchered that because I couldn't cut a straight angle. It's too hard to get that Sawzall in there. And then same for over here. You've got that hole. It's a little bit higher, straight across, and then just cut the rest of it out. Now I'll paint all this stuff up and make it right, but I just wanted to show you where I cut. And then I cut the tabs off of the top of this because it was going to hit this over here on this side, and it was hitting this thing. And the hoses will hold it. It's already being held by that, and the hoses will hold that. So that's where all that cutting is on the old radiator support from the Super Duty. Now, let me take this out. I don't think it's too heavy. No. There we go. So now here's the intercooler. And right now I've got this piece of wood up here because I wanted to fit it before I drilled holes, but what I did was I built little brackets, and I'll do, I've just got some, and I painted them, you can't see them, but I've got some screws going through with the back, with one of those nuts that, the locking nut. And so I'll just drill self-tappers in there. And if I want to take it out, I undo it from there and hold back up on the other side. And then I could take this wood piece out, and it will support it, and then also the lines will hold it, and it will all go together. So that's my next plan. And then I still need to, I'll probably do that when I go back together with it, because I'm fixing to tear it down and do engine work. I've